and get started. I'm sure people will be joining us as we go along because we had a really large number of you all interested in this webinar. I'm Corey Robinson, and I'm professor of pediatrics in CU School of Medicine, and I'm part of JFK Partners. And I'm very pleased to welcome everyone this morning to the JFK Partners series on transition that we're going to be doing this winter and spring, with today's session around inclusive higher education being the kickoff. Again, really happy to welcome everyone here. And we've got a lot of information for you this morning. I'm going to introduce Tracy Murphy. But before that, I just want to ask people to, if you have, as you have questions as we go along with the presentation, please enter them in the chat. They'll be monitored as we go along, and after each kind of phase, if you will, of the webinar, sorry, I saw the chat. After each phase of the webinar, we'll be addressing questions and then hopefully have more time at the very end for questions. I saw Dina answered that chat about recording. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Tracy Murphy, who is the executive director of Inclusive Higher Education, 501c3 nonprofit organization that was started by a number of families and interested people in the community that sought to originally get the funding that established the inclusive higher ed program. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tracy, who's having perhaps some camera difficulties, so we may not see her face, but happy to invite Tracy to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Corey. Yes, she's right. I am without camera this morning. I have restarted my computer 3 times and my camera has decided to not play nice. So you will hear me, but not see me. But thank you so much for having us all. I am just one member of the Colorado Consortium for the Inclusive Higher Education, and we are thrilled to be presenting to you today. You can go to the next slide, Jen. Just to let you know who's all here today, we have representatives from UCCS, from UNC, and from ACC, our 3 partner schools, myself from IN, and then we are fortunate enough to have 2 amazing students with us to give you some of their perspective. Our consortium today, our consortium is a statewide organization that works to develop pathways of inclusive higher ed. We work to create best practices, collaborate with state agencies, provide education and outreach, and really kind of fulfill our promise to create these inclusive higher education pathways for our students. So what I'd like to do now is just kind of kick it off with a little video to give you guys kind of an idea of the impact that some of this has had on our students and just kind of what we're all about, and then we'll get into it.
A lot of high school teachers tell a lot of students with disabilities that they can't go to college because they have one, which is not true because we're people too.
I've always wanted to go to college ever since I was in high school. And after we had the interview, I was accepted. That changed my whole life forever.
So I found out teachers and the students, they've been really amazing here.
Personalize and design classes to fit the students' needs.
The students persevere through challenges. We're really challenging them academically. For a lot of them, much more than they ever have been before.
I feel really independent because I have the responsibilities of living on my own.
I'm feeling good to get away from my parents.
Students are living and hanging out amongst their peers. We have students in everything from Greek life to doing club sports. That's exactly what inclusion is about.
I was more worried about me. Being at home by myself, they have the support system if I needed it.
College is a good thing to do, to make friends, to be independent. My whole family went to college and they want me to go to college.
But we have several students doing an internship or job placement, so not just a grocery store.
My goal for Casey is for her to live independently and have a job that she loves.
My dream is to work at Google.
I want to go into healthcare.
Be a teacher and be around kids.
There isn't a roadblock that I see out there for a student who truly wants to go to college.
Don't be afraid.
And work hard. Work really hard.
Oh yeah.
All right. I just love that video. I love the student perspective. I think that you don't even need us professionals on here. You just need the students to talk about their experience and what it's meant to them. So powerful. So what I am asked to do is kind of go through the background and kind of the overview of inclusive higher ed. So where did this all start? One of the graphics and images that I think really, uh-oh, is the screen not working? Oh, next slide.
Sorry, 1 second. This is me. Technical difficulties, and this would happen because we are. Just 1 second.
That's okay. Aha.
Are we good?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So where did this all start? This image kind of really represents, I think, where the starting point was. Families, students, people felt like after you graduated high school or finished transition, you were falling off a cliff. There wasn't anything more for you. I like to tell a personal story of my own. I have a brother who 20 years ago graduated from high school and completed transition. He has an intellectual disability, and he had a ceremony called 21 and Done, which really was signifying he was 21 years old and done with the K through 12 system. But for my family, and I think so many families around, people really felt like 21 and done, there wasn't anything else. There was day programs, there was sitting at home, and there wasn't really that drive for employment or further education. And so that's kind of where this all started. 5 years ago, a group of really extraordinary individuals, some are on this call, worked together to change this. And they worked to create options and better lives. They wanted more independence for their sons and daughters, more access to employment, and ultimately just more. As they started to research it, it was determined that Colorado was one of 3 states that did not offer inclusive higher education pathways. So we were very late to the game. That had its pros and cons. Cons, we were late to the game. Pros, we could learn from what other people did and really implement successful programs. Some of these decisions were really backed on the national data that we were seeing. Students with IDD and post-secondary education have a 102% increase in wages. One of the other key components to that employment is an increase in job diversity. So you saw in the video that Jen mentioned, this isn't just to work at your traditional food preparation or cleaning or grocery stores. We've seen a 300% increase in these students working in healthcare, and then the same sort of wow decreases in food prep and cleaning and maintenance occupations that have historically been typical for these students. And then further, we see their increased social relationships and their connections to their community, their likelihood to live independently and not have to rely on their parents or so much government support as they go on to their adult lives. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, there we go. So from all of this, the Senate bill was born. It was passed in 2016, signed by Governor John Hickenlooper at the time. And it really kind of focused on these sort of 8 core components of what it would provide. We needed an alternate pathway for enrollment. That meant that some of these students wouldn't be successful taking the ACT or SAT. So how could we enroll them in college without sort of the traditional requirements? We wanted to ensure they had the same rights and responsibilities as other students, meaning they're not a part of the campus, they're not just guests there. They have access to the same curriculum, the same social activities, the same housing, anything that a typical college student would have. Another component that we really focused on is the evaluation piece. That's why we're here partnered with JFK. They have provided that evaluation piece as we've gone. Annually, an evaluation is done to look at parent and student and faculty feedback and really use that to continue to develop the best practices. Another core component is that we take, oh wait, go back. We take these courses for credit. So this is not just we're coming to audit or we're coming just for experience. These students are really working and they're getting credit and they're getting grades for the classes that they're taking. Obviously, we wanted a normative setting that goes with the rights and responsibilities. We wanted to prepare them for employment. So you'll hear later a huge focus on our program is really that employment, having internships, career readiness, really preparing them for their dream jobs. And then the final two were really around financial supports and for the program. One of the things we've worked really hard on is becoming a certified transition program. That means that all three of our schools now can offer a huge success that we've had over the past few years. And then finally, our Senate bill funding is only 5 years, so we needed to create a plan for these programs to be self-sustainable. And so we have been super successful at all of these, and a lot of them we're going to go into a lot greater detail later on. So where are we today? 5 years later, UNC, ACC, and UCCS are amazing. They have opened their doors to these students and really developed, I think, world-class programs. I think they are best in the nation, but I'm biased. We have 72 students enrolled. They are from 15 counties. We have students coming from out of state. I think there's 4 out-of-state students now, and we're so thrilled to say that they're enrolled in typical classes. At UCCS and UNC, they're living in dorms or campuses on apartment, or dorms on campus or in apartments. Again, they're earning those college credits. We've been able to get a certificate approved by higher ed, so they all receive a certificate of inclusive higher education with an emphasis in their chosen area of study. And then the campus has opened up to them socially with jobs and clubs and anything they want to be a part of. And this is super exciting. We've had our first graduates. So in 2020, we saw our first 6 graduates. There they are. So proud of them. We had Ashley, who studied advocacy and human services. We had Mia, who studied American Sign Language. Nick, who studied photojournalism. Jasmine is in nursing studies and is currently a CNA. Casey went on to CSU to get her bachelor's degree, and Vince studies music. And these 6 graduates will be joined by 12 more this spring, and we are so proud of them, and you'll get to hear from one of them later. So real quick, just wanted to run through kind of what the admission requirements are. We talked about having an alternate pathway. Really, they have to have a documented intellectual or developmental disability. They don't have to complete the ACT or SAT. One of the big components that we really strive for is that the student has to have a desire to go to college. This means that they have that desire, not their parents, not people around them. It's their desire, and that allows us to create sort of their individualized plan towards them living the life that they want to live. They must be able to participate in class. There are supports offered, and we'll talk more about what that looks like when we get into the specifics. And then they have to apply, and they have to go through an application and an interview, and are accepted. So that is that. Next slide. The final thing that I wanted to touch on, and this kind of kicks off the other speakers, is our programs are really centered around this sort of 4-pillar approach to the program. So it really focuses on academics, social, career, and independence. And they all kind of work together. Each of my colleagues are going to take one of these areas and really dive into what it looks like. But the main thing I wanted to focus on here is that all of these are provided as an individualized way. They are person-driven. No 2 student plans are the same. No 2 students receive the same supports. And it's really individualized to what their hopes and dreams are. And the academic piece, again, it's really important that they are fully inclusive. They are taking typical classes. They are picking classes for them from the course catalog, just like any other student. Social, they're involved in anything offered on the campus, from Greek life to clubs to student government, whatever it is, they're really included in that. Career, big component. This is really outcome driven. They participate in internships and financial planning, career planning, job coaching, and really working towards that sustainable career for them. And then the last piece that we'll talk about is the independence. Like I said, they often live in dorms, student apartments. They also are given opportunity to practice and learn their life skills, really participate in their own planning of their career and their life, and really focus on that self-advocacy piece. So that's kind of the overview of where we're at. And are there any questions before we kind of dive into each of those pillars? All right, then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie Harmon. She's the inclusion coordinator at UCCS, and she's going to go through academics.
Great, thanks, Tracy. As Tracy said, I'm Julie Harmon. I'm the inclusion coordinator in the Office of Inclusive Services at the University of Colorado Springs. A mouthful. And I'm going to share a little bit about how we help support students with academic success. And we, as Tracy kind of pointed out, we work really closely with UCCS, UNC, and ACC. And so what I'm talking about are really specific to students we've supported at UCCS, but these are across the board, how we collaborate, how students are included in classes, how we look at modifying curriculum. And so what I'm talking about, though it may be specific to students we support, it's across the board in how the supports are provided to students. Again, very individualized, based on individual students, individual classes, all of those things come into play, but I'm going to give a general overview. Next slide. So students that come to UCCS that have an intellectual disability do take typical academic classes. They are earning grades towards a certificate. So our students are not earning a degree. They're earning a certificate, and I'm going to talk at the very end of my portion about how that certificate looks. And so the students take typical classes. They do not take the same course load as a student who was getting a bachelor's. They take between 54 and 60, 70 credits across 4 years. And so you can see the difference in what that would be for a bachelor's. If they were to want to transition to be able to take a bachelor's, earn a bachelor's degree, any of the classes that they've taken that we've modified would not transfer. They're on their transcript in a very different way so that we're very clear that the students are working towards a certificate. They do participate in the social activities. Some participate in every single thing that's offered. COVID has certainly made that a little bit more challenging, but the university and ourselves have been very creative in trying to keep those social activities up for all students. They do internships and jobs, and they also have the opportunity to live on campus. Next slide. So one of the questions that we get asked often is the idea about modifications and accommodations. And in the K-12 school system, accommodations and modifications work. You can do them at the same time. You can have an accommodation for one class, you might have modifications in another class. At the college level, accommodations are provided through the disability services offices, and they provide students with disabilities to have equal access to the opportunity to benefit from the classes, the programs, activities, but they're not fundamentally altering the program. So those could be a longer time to take a test, a quiet place to take a test, electronic books, books that, audio books, those types of things, but they're not fundamentally changing any aspect of the program. What we're able to do in Inclusive Higher Ed Office is provide students with modifications. And so that's what I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about, looking at the different modifications we've made, because oftentimes people say, how will somebody take a college physics class, which in that video, some of those students they were filmed in a physics class. How do you modify that? So I'm going to show you a few ideas of that, but really being clear that we make modifications. Students that need just accommodations can get those services through the Disability Service Office. And we all work closely with making sure we're referring students and families to the right places. Next slide. So the first thing that I do in thinking about modifications for students is looking at what each student is going to do in each class. So I sit down as soon as I get the syllabi from faculty, from downloading from Canvas. I look through all the assignments and look at what may need to be modified for each student. And some students don't need huge modifications. Some we modify greatly. And so I go through and I make notes, and I have a sheet called a main assignment and exam sheet, and I make notes in there for myself and for our student mentors. And that's one of the main modifications that we provide, is the opportunity for a student mentor to attend a class with a student receiving services through our office. So we hire peers, we hire students at UCCS, and they are able to support students in class, helping them make sure they understand that if, oftentimes assignments change, you go to class and what was due next Wednesday is now due in 2 weeks because the faculty person's going to be out, or any of those types of things, helping students understand that. Any type of modifications that need to be done on the spot in class, because the syllabus is a very general idea of what's going to happen in each class. So I can work on major assignments, but those things that just happen weekly in class, we have trained mentors. Our mentors go through 2 trainings a semester. We work around how do you modify. We meet with mentors when they get stuck on how to modify something. And so those are the 2 biggest things, is modifications and obviously the student mentors. Next slide. So here, I'm just going to go through some samples. And so for this class, there was a writing assignment. They needed to watch a video and write a 1-page double-spaced paper discussing how the collaboration influenced their art. What is the strength of working with others? And so for this student, we are going to provide sentence starters to help get his ideas on paper, and then help organize his thoughts into a 1-page paper, and help with sentence structure and edit. So this student was still going to turn in a 1-page paper, and I'm going to show you, sometimes they turn in what we call a Foursquare or graphic organizer. That might be what they're turning in as their modified assignment. But for this student, we're going to help get the ideas down. We're going to do a lot of, tell me more about that, a lot of scribing for them, so that they're not trying to write at the same time as they're trying to articulate what they're trying to say. And then just help the student with sentence structures and edits. And we do that with the students. So currently we're providing supports online. So our mentors would be online in the Google Drive, working on a document that both the student and the student mentor can see. So they'll be saying, do you see here where this sentence, you didn't capitalize the first letter, you didn't put a period at the end? So the student can see those edits that are being made. And so our hope is 4 years down the road, if we're working with a freshman, that those edits, those things are going to start to become a natural thing that they understand as they continue through that. The other thing is, this is a 10-question multiple choice true or false questions. All quizzes are taken online. So I typically will ask for the quizzes beforehand, and I usually will ask if more time can be added. So some students just need time added. That time ticking down, it gives me anxiety. So I can imagine it gives other people anxiety. So we might increase the time. We might take the time limit off altogether. They might do it with support. Oftentimes from me, I support most of the quizzes. It might be taking an essay question and turning it into multiple choice. It may be taking multiple choice questions and taking 2 of the answers away, so leaving the right answer and 1 other answer. It just depends on the student and what the quiz is and what the class is. And so I will start working, like midterms, will start at within the next week. I'll be asking mentors about what students have midterms to start to work on those. Next slide. So final exams, a lot of classes have final exams. We love the classes with final projects. Our students love the projects over the exams. And this one, again, I will provide a study guide. I make a lot of study guides. I'm going to show you some examples of study guides and how they can be a valuable tool. The other thing that often will happen is I will develop study guides for students, and then they can use those study guides on an exam. If an exam is a closed book exam, our students may have the modification that they're going to use the study guide, which is another reason our students often take the test outside of the classroom, so that they can, the other students aren't using a study guide, so they're using it outside of the classroom. Another assignment was, oh, this one's you, Brianna, doing a classmate profile. And so this was going to just make sure that Brianna had the supports to interview the classmate, that she knew how she was going to do that, how she was going to set that up, if they were going to meet in the library, if they were going to meet on Zoom. If it was possible to record it with the iPhone or on the iPad so she could watch it as many times as she needed so that she could complete this assignment, and then just to provide the writing supports that Brianna would need to complete the assignment. Next slide. So this is was an exam for a personal nutrition class. And what I did was went in and put in what's highlighted. So I put in the calculation so that the student who was taking this exam would just use their calculator to calculate out what they were being asked. And so they needed to multiply 3,500 by 25%. And then once they had that, the next step. So everything in yellow was not on the exam. So those are the modifications that I put in, was the calculations that they would need to do. And I did put these calculations in and sent it back to the professor to make sure my calculations were right. Because if I was wrong on the first one, they were going to be wrong the rest of the way down. And so I wanted to make sure that I actually knew that I was doing the right thing. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a study guide for personal nutrition, and this was what was provided on Canvas for a student. And so, know the definition of a vitamin, no vitamins provide energy, no vitamin D. It was probably a 6 or 7 page study guide. And this is what it looked like. Next slide. So what I did is went in and modified that and just grouped the vitamins. So I've grouped vitamin A and then what they needed to know about vitamin A, what they needed to know about vitamin D, because that other study guide was really overwhelming. And if the student wrote the questions out to that, they'd be really confused to finding it when they took the exam. And then this was a tool, a modification that they could use for the exam. They could use this study guide. Next slide. Okay, so this is a project, and this was a project teaching math to elementary school students, and they had to develop a lesson plan and figure out what skill they were going to cover. And this is a young lady who graduated last year, and she was going to UCCS to be able to work with small children and to teach sign language. And so we took those 2 job goals of hers and put it into this lesson plan. So she was going to teach ASL counting to students. And so she developed the lesson plan. These were the steps that she was going to do. Next slide. And so then this was the assessment that she did. So she found out, did they know this? Yes. Did they struggle? They struggled at first, but got the hang of it. So this is how the assessment component of it went. Next slide. And then she developed all the tools she needed, and then went into a classroom and implemented this. So she developed the place cards the students are using. She got all the materials together, and then she went in and taught the lesson. And so we as an office provided her the tools, the mentor support to get all of this product together, to think through what her project was going to be, and then assisted her to get into a school, which now would be probably impossible to do, but this was before COVID. So then she did the activity. Next slide. Oh, I guess that was the last one. So she did the activity and then put together her report on that. And it was the picture, presenting it by the pictures, and being able to show that she did the assignment, that she understood the concepts, the main concepts of what she was supposed to be doing with that learning, lesson plan. I forgot the word of it. Okay, so the next one is when students have to do book reports or long, 15-page papers or 5-page research papers or those types of things. And so this is for Nick, who took a Colorado history class, and they had to read this book called Half-Breed, The Remarkable True Story of George Bent. And this is the rubric in which it was being graded. And so I want you to see that he was graded as the other students against the same rubric. And so of the first part, out of 60, he got 58, out of 20, he got 20, and out of 20 for the writing, he got 19. So he got a 97 out of 100. Next slide. But instead of a 5-page research paper, what Nick did was took the main points that were supposed to be covered in the research paper and put it into a PowerPoint. He did not present the PowerPoint to class. He turns in the PowerPoint as his book report, but the formatting of the PowerPoint is what makes it's easier to format it. So he had to talk about, one of the things in the book report they had to talk about is how George moved uneasily between the Cheyenne and the white world. And so then Nick he puts in his comments, he puts in quotes from the book. Nick is also a photographer, so Nick went down to Bent's Fort down in southern Colorado and took pictures of the fort to include that, because Nick was going to school for photojournalism. So again, we wanted to tie in the photojournalism component to the assignment he was doing. So he went on a photography journey, took some photos to be used for this book report. And then you'll see the teacher put comments that she would, what were some examples of how he did not fit. So she didn't feel like he fully answered this. And so again, seeing that they're still graded with that lens of, I would have liked more, or this was great. Next slide. Again, just, one of the pieces they had to add was, what does this book contribute to the knowledge of the people, the history of the culture of Colorado? And so Nick learned that he saw a lot of the names that are in Colorado Springs in this book as he was reading it. And then you can just see the faculty, the professor's comments. And so that's typically how those bigger assignments are done. We modify them to meet the needs of the students' job outcomes, to incorporate into what we're doing within the curriculum of the classroom. Next slide. All right. So this, like I said, this is the comprehensive higher education certificate that students in Colorado earn. So ACC, UNC, and UCCS, we use this, not this sheet, but we all call it a comprehensive higher education certificate. And what we use at UCCS is the certificate advising sheet. And so when we meet with a student, and we're accepting students right now for the fall of 21, we ask students where they want to be in 4 years. And we talk about what that might look like. Is it photojournalism? Is it library science? Is it education? Is it personal nutrition and wellness? And then we outline the courses that they're going to take. So we look at what might be required courses. For this student, it was a comprehensive higher education certificate with a focus in elementary education. And so we look at the required courses for a BA, and we have them take the classes that are the most diverse in giving them a broad-based foundation of knowledge that they'll need. And so anything you see there in green are required courses of students that are through the Office of Inclusive Services. So we have a class, the College and Career. All 3 universities have some sort of class where we work specifically with the students with disabilities. It's the only class they take together. And we work on different things that are related to being in college and those things. And then they're required to take the other classes that students at UCCS take, which are the GPS classes. And then we require interpersonal communication, oral comm in the workplace, public speaking, disability service, our disability studies, and a capstone. Those are the classes over 4 years that are required for all students in the Office of Inclusive Services. And then you can see where we plug in each semester. They take 2 academic classes towards their area of study. All right, if you have questions related to the academic piece, I'll take a few questions. We are also going to leave time at the end for questions too, but I want to make sure if anybody has anything specific. And I don't know, Jen, I haven't really been following the chat.
And I just looked, there is a question, can a student with a disability take a class in a passion area, but not for a certificate and be charged less? Is there a class older people can take with supports, but not pay tuition for a certificate program?
So kin students, they are not charged less. Students who take a class, we have some students who are doing, might be doing photojournalism. I'll use Nick as an example. And then he also took a machine shop class that didn't have really anything to do with photojournalism. So the family can private pay for those classes, or you can put them on there as an elective, but they're not, UCCS doesn't give a lower rate for that. It's just as included in there. Some students have taken classes that aren't aligned to their career goal, but is a passion of theirs. And so, but it's always going to be towards a certificate, and there isn't anything less. UCCS does have, I don't know, Christy, if you know the name of it, it's for,
they have a listening in program. Yeah. And so if you're an adult who would like to listen into a class, I think that's still up and running at UCCS. We do have an audit program, but it is not, there are no services provided for students with intellectual disabilities who are just auditing outside of our office. And I'm not sure what the rules around auditing are. I'd have to look those up. I know there's some age range maybe, and it's also when you audit, it's based on the faculty's preference and also faculty's ability to accommodate, which has become even more challenging during COVID, of course. But sometimes there's not enough room in the classrooms. UCCS is very crowded, so auditing becomes very difficult. I think the first question might have related to this idea of, can you just take a class if you want, get services, but not be enrolled in the fullness of the certificate program? And for us at UCCS, we don't allow that. You have to be in our office receiving full services towards a certificate. And like Julie said, you can take an elective that's outside of your kind of concentration area that leads to your major, if you will, your area of study.
And I guess the only thing I would add is that at the community college level and at ACC, we do have a community education department. Students aren't receiving college credit if they participate in community education. Some courses could be for a day, some for a week, a month, but they have things like photography and pottery and different things people would like to participate in. And those community education classes are less expensive. And so that's something that people in the community can participate in at a community college. It's probably similar in the other areas, but it doesn't count for credit towards our certificate.
All right, I don't see any more questions. I see a question that Christina's going to ask, so that's perfect. I'm going to turn this over to Christina up at UNC, and she's going to do share with us about vocational prep.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Rafati. I am the Executive Director here at UNC Go On and Learn, or GOAL program. I was definitely scrolling through, saw a lot of friendly names that I remember from past lives, so welcome. My role today will be to talk to you about the vocational component of programs. And Jen, if you want to forward me a slide, awesome. All right, so what we know that 17% of working age adults with ID are employed in a community job. We also know that early employment is a good indicator of later employment. My friends in transition services, you all know this, right? Through indicator 14 data. There's a high correlation between employment while in school and employment after completion of school. So attending a post-secondary education program is associated with successful adult employment. So I come from the world of, I'm a certified rehabilitation counselor. So my passion is definitely working with students around career path employment. And I will definitely talk a little bit about integrated competitive employment, but really the idea is we want to work with students to move them out of the 5 F's. So food, filth, flowers, fill in the blank, those really entry-level menial jobs that are not going to provide a sustainable wage for their lifetime. There's nothing wrong with that employment, but that's not what our end game is in inclusive education. I know I ramble, Jen, so will you forward me a slide? All right. So we know that the benefits of competitive integrated employment are these, right? Higher wages, access to benefits, greater independence, more economic self-sufficiency. Obviously, we're in rapidly changing times. We all know this. COVID has taken a huge toll on employers. So the higher skill sets that students have, the better, because then they're going to be able to use those skills to perhaps transfer into different careers as they grow as people. But we want to definitely be providing the foundation with the area of express focus that they've demonstrated to us. So again, those expanded career options, definitely making sure that with competitive integrated employment, we're looking at self-determination, right? So how many times do we talk with a young adult and say, what do you want to do? And they tell us what they want to do. Sorry, I'm also teaching a class and we'll start in 15 minutes. So I'm gonna talk to my friends over here. So thinking through increased job satisfaction, right? So we don't want to send a student to a job they're going to hate, because that's going to create a situation where there's that revolving door. And I think I have some DVR friends on the line that definitely have felt this in their travels. So if we have increased job satisfaction, then we have a decreased need to reapply for services. So if we're thinking through why post-secondary education programs make sense for this component, it is really an investment in the student's future. So also looking at integrated workplaces, we know in Colorado that enclave employment and workshop employment is really moving to be a thing of the past. So by exposing students to 2-4 years in a college environment, they're really continuing to build those skills for not only them, but also for their peers that are taking classes alongside them. So really, we're growing 2 different sorts of populations at the same time. We're looking at, an untapped labor resource for our employers. I recently had an opportunity to do an interview, and one of the questions was, why does this make sense for employers? If they're, CDLE friends on the line, it makes sense for our employers, right? Because this is an untapped labor resource. And we know that if we provide people with the right supports, they're going to be successful in the employment setting. So one of the questions that I hope to answer, but I'll get through this very quickly, is how do we do this? So we do this by exposing students to different career path employment. So at UNC, we have students in early childhood education, brewing sciences, human services, healthcare, teacher assistants. So really any sorts of class courses that are available to a degree-seeking student are going to be available to our students, which means they're going to also have access to those same sorts of professor resources who have amazing connections within their field. They're also going to have connections to university-based resources. I'm trying to follow 2 slides. Jen, do you want to advance me? Yeah, advance me a slide. I'm talking off slide. All right, so we're looking at a sequence of courses related to the student's expressed career focus. So this is going to look different for every student, which I think is important that we just reiterate that point. I know Julie talked about this as well. Because it's not like we're going to say every student's going to take this and it's going to lead to this, right? We're going to really be working hand in hand with the student, with the faculty, looking at really more applied courses in the case of UNC. And then we're reinforcing that in the classroom through direct explicit instruction. So at UNC, our direct explicit instruction is around career exploration. It's around how do we have appropriate boundaries on the workplace. And as we build through the 8 semesters with students, we're working towards more of those internship-based experiences. So we do have one-on-one meetings with any of the students that we support, but we also have access to the universal supports on the campus. So for example, career resource, they're called CCR at UNC, which always makes me think of Creighton's Clearwater Revival. But so they're the career center available to all students on the campus. And this is going to be true for any of the other schools. And then we're also making sure we're connecting back to the community. So skill building is happening through on-campus employment for the first 4 semesters. And then we're looking at off-campus employment and internships the remaining 4 semesters. At UNC, that's our model. Obviously, it's going to be different among the different campuses, but we all do things similarly. All right, I'm taking a breath, Jen. Thank you. All right, so visually what this looks like is year 1, we are really acclimating to the college campus. We're exploring. So specifically at UNC, we take that first semester to transition to be a college student. I'm sure anyone who's ever made a huge transition in their life, it's a lot, and we need to allow time for our students to navigate the differences between a college experience and what it was in high school. So UNC, our students live on campus. So many cases, this is the first time they're spending extended periods of time away from their families, which for any freshman is tough. During that time though, we're exploring careers, we're doing interest inventories, we are learning about the different jobs on campus. And then the second semester freshman year, our responsibility is really to get students connected to on-campus employment. So in a lot of cases, this is going to be dining services simply because that is where a bulk of college students work, especially at UNC, because college students always have to eat, right? And that's one area that's actually not been impacted by COVID for us at UNC. Year 2, we're learning more about our career path employment. We're doing job shadows, informational interviews, starting to take some of those classes that really align with our career path employment. Looking at some campus internships if they're available, but again, still working in paid employment on campus. Year 3, we are moving away from being on campus as much and really launching into the community around us. So for example, I have a student who will be starting an internship at they're called Youth and Family Connections, because that student's area of interest is really human services. So this is a perfect fit for them. And then year 4, it's all about being out in the community, right? So looking at paid employment in the area of interest. And again, internships. I have a senior right now who is doing an internship at one of the local breweries. Within all of this though, it's really important to remember, we want our students, when they return home for the summer months, to be still working back in their home communities. So we're not losing any of that skill acquisition that's happening. So the question earlier was, do we place students in specific areas? Yes and no, right? So the favorite answer is it depends. We have relationships and we have employers who know and understand what we're doing. So we're obviously going to knock on their door first, but in some cases, maybe that's not the right fit for the students. So we're not necessarily going to go with that employer. Teachers' aides could definitely be a thing if it makes sense for the student in early childhood education, but in some cases, I have a student who was working at one of the local rec centers in their early childhood area. So really depends. It's totally driven by the student, because we want to make sure that they are experiencing happiness in what they're doing. So looking at the post-college employment, we're looking at really making sure that our students are in that career path employment, they're in competitive integrated employment, and that they're in a stabilized job. Jen, if you want to advance me, then I won't talk off slide. All right, so with all of that, thinking through who are our critical partners in this vocational piece, because we are one area that supports a student, but our families are going to be critical partners. They know who is hiring in their local community. They can definitely be helping out with reaching back to the schools and perhaps prompting us, hey, you should talk to so-and-so, especially if their student is coming back to live with them after they've completed their time at UNC, at UCCS, at ACC. Division of Voc Rehab, it's no surprise, you all are critical partners to us. This is your bread and butter, connecting individuals to career path employment. So we work hand in hand with Voc Rehab quite a bit. Our local workforce centers, so they have the pulse, obviously, on what's happening in those local communities. So at UNC, I have students from around the state, and in some cases out of state. I can't be in all the places at once, but I can definitely be picking up the phone to be talking with my local workforce friends to see what areas are hiring in that home community. If they have specific employers they work with, then we would want to connect that student back to that local workforce center in sort of a warm handoff situation. Our community center boards, critical partners, right? Because you all are going to be picking up where perhaps we leave when a student exits our program. So making sure we really are thinking through wraparound services for our students. If we think back to Tracy's first slide of graduation is like falling off a cliff, that's not what we want when we leave our programs, right? We want to make sure that all of the services students were utilizing while they were with us, they are still able to utilize and access when they leave our programs. Local campus, wow, so many words, Christina. Campus career services. Again, these are the universal supports. We want to make sure we're always looking to those universal supports for students, because that is going to help them be as independent as they desire to be once they leave our inclusive programs. And of course, employers within the local community, they're critical because they're the ones that are going to eventually hire our students, right? So making sure that we're understanding the needs of our employers through all of those informational interviews students conduct, job shadows. In some cases, we're looking at having employers come in and like meet with our students and talk with them through job fairs and that sort of thing. That was a lot of talking. I didn't check the chat board. Let's see.
I think you're okay, Christina.
I'm good? Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
Awesome. So I'm Christy Casa. I am a professor and the director of the Office of Inclusive Services at UCCS. And I'm going to just introduce you to you. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. One of our awesome students named Brianna Kimble. And she's going to chat with you about independent living. And then I'll probably chime in at the end of it too. So Brianna, you can take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna Kimble. I am 23 years old. I have lived in Colorado for about 14 years. I am originally from Jackson, New Jersey. I am a senior at UCCS, and I love going to college. I have my own apartment on campus at UCCS, which I love spending time at. I have met many awesome people on the way to class, in my apartment and on campus, when I am eating dinner. My teachers and mentors are supportive in helping me succeed. The food and desserts at school are delicious and awesome.
Hey, Brianna. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What kind of things do you take care of on your own living in your apartment? Like what kind of chores do you have to do?
Oh, the bed and the bathroom and the kitchen area as well.
How about laundry?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of doing all those kinds of things? Is it hard? Is it easy?
Not my jam, but I gotta do it because I have to take care of my responsibilities.
I think we all feel that way about those things, Brianna. Thanks for sharing that with me. Anything else that you particularly love about living in your apartment?
In particular, just hang out with friends and yeah.
Cool. I think that's probably right on. Awesome. Thanks, B.
No problem.
Cool.
The best things about college. The best thing about college is that there is a lot of nice, friendly people here. I love the dining hall and the classes that I am taking. I love going out with my friends and going out to events with my friends.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So anything you think people should know about living on your own in the apartments? You know, there are people on here that are just, you know, learning about what you guys do when you're on campus and what college inclusion is like. So do you think there's anything people should know? Was it hard to learn how to live on your own? I know you're home right now. I wonder what you think about being home because of COVID.
It feels great to be home. I miss all the people that I work with at my school, and I miss all my friends, and I miss you and Julie and John.
Okay. So there's some things you like about being home, but some things that you miss about the university?
Yes.
Cool. How about living on campus? Was it hard to learn to live on your own?
The first year was hard, yes, but I feel like I'm doing pretty good this year.
I think you're doing great for sure. And after you graduate, what are your plans? Where do you want to live?
Boy, that's tricky. I don't know. I definitely want to do like an airport job maybe after college.
Okay, but what about living? Do you want to move back in with your parents or do you want your own place?
My own place, so that way family and friends can visit me, you know.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Does anyone go ahead.
Can I say the 5 things as well that I texted you?
Yes.
Let's see. First of all, I think being home is probably hard. Second of all, doing chores is pretty hard when I'm at home. Third, I miss being at school is probably hard. Fourth, I think cooking is hard, but I'm still wearing gloves when I'm cooking. And I think number 5 is missing my friends and everybody at school.
Yeah, I think COVID's been a bummer. So what I'm hearing from you is that you're ready to get back to campus.
Yes.
Yes, I understand that for sure.
I just really hope that things go back to normal, because this year has been so not like berserk, but like emotional and rough and very tough for me because of the the job that I do in my school, and
yeah,
smelling the fire is just, oh my gosh, what a horrific smell.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Brianna, and I think we're all ready to have people back on living on campus too. I'm going to say a couple other things about campus life and independent living, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you. You did great. So I just wanted to share, students at UCCS do live on on-campus apartments. We're going to start working on opportunities for the dorms as well at UCCS. At UNC, students live in the dorms on campus. And, we have a variety of supports from different places that come in to help teach students independent living skills, and really, support their efforts to gain all the skills necessary when you're trying to manage, learning to live on your own. And I think think one of the things I learned, I happen to be the parent of young adults, ages 18 to 22, and having them back home through the pandemic has really taught me that all of the challenges the students we support with intellectual disabilities are very similar to the challenges that our students without disabilities are facing as well. And so, we're working through all of those typical kind of life skills, if you will, that people 18 to their late 20s are working to develop. So yeah. Any questions about independent living? I have not been really looking at the chat too much. Okay, if not, we can just move on. Thank you, Brianna.
Thank you, Brianna. That was amazing. And it was so nice to hear from you. And I know my students also can't wait to get back on campus, and me. I can't wait to see everyone in person. We had a class this morning, and it's definitely the highlight of my day when I get to see everyone's faces. And so I can't wait for things to be different too. And thank you for sharing with us. So I'm Jennifer Wojens, and I'm the director of the Elevate program at Arapahoe Community College. And I'm going to talk a little bit about social engagement. And I know, much like other people have mentioned, it looks different at each campus. On our campus, we don't have residential housing at all. We're a commuter campus as a community college. And so our students usually travel to campus. They participate in events and clubs and things like that. And so really, we do participate. We engage as much as possible. We have a ton of clubs on campus. And our students are a part of our community. They're definitely embedded in the fabric of Arapahoe Community College. Our students have a presence in the majority of clubs that we have. We have so many, over 30. So this is just kind of a highlight, but astronomy club, play club, early childhood development. I have several students interested in that, and they participate in that club. Our students the very first year started an Elevate Club with the intention of promoting disability awareness and inclusion on campus. And that's still an active club today, even in our COVID times. They have a club meeting tomorrow. So there are just lots of different opportunities to be able to participate in clubs. We also have organizations on campus. I've had several students that were a part of our Student Government Association. We've had a few senators in that leadership position, also a student that volunteered as a secretary. He did need some additional support. So when we're talking about supports and peer mentor support, he did have a peer mentor that assisted him in his duties as secretary for student government, but just highlighting again that really our students have become a part of our institution. They're so incredibly involved in everything that we have on campus and are definitely leaders in our campus community. We have a National Society for Leadership and Success, which is Honor Society. And I've had several students engage in that programming. They learn leadership skills. They're part of a group throughout the semester. They have some type of project, but it's just something else for them to engage in to really be able to practice skills for leadership, meet more students on campus, and anything that's available for any student at ACC is also available for our students, whether they're on that modified track or not. So National Society for Leadership and Success is more of an honor society. You need at least a 3.0. We also have PTK, which is over a 3.5, but I have students participating in both, and really with the option to do that no matter what track they're on. We have a lot of campus events. So I know at the universities, they have a lot more because students are living on campus. That's their, entire life and the place they live. And I'm sure Brianna could tell us about a lot of activities she's participated in. But at ACC, we always have a welcome week each semester where students are welcome onto campus. They have an opportunity to connect with other students. We have a campus engagement fair where all of the clubs come and introduce themselves and invite students to participate. This is a picture from a silent disco that happened in the library pre-COVID. It was so incredibly fun. We had the best time. So we all had headphones and everybody was able to just jam out in the library. We have a Halloween costume contest, Frisbee golf. There are just lots of different opportunities to get involved, and our students are very active in the activities that happen on our campus. So what does it look like now? I mean, what are we doing differently? Because we haven't been on campus for quite a while. And so at ACC, we have social events offered every week. We have some kind of a structured activity that's run by our peer mentors. So some of the examples would be bingo, Kahoot. We had a virtual talent show. We're going to be doing some candle making in the next few weeks, done some cooking classes, because since our students don't normally live on campus, it's an opportunity while we're in our homes for us to be able to work on some of those skills and practice. And so we're really trying to just pivot and take advantage of this situation that we're in with COVID so that we can do some of those things with students. This semester, we're also having a bucket list challenge. Every week there's some kind of a challenge activity for students to participate in. So taking walks, having lunch outside, going on a virtual vacation. There's a whole variety of activities that will be happening all semester long, and then students will earn some kind of a prize at the end. We are doing Wellness Wednesdays to help students with physical and mental health. And so we were doing yoga, meditation, some therapeutic coloring, I mean, all sorts of different things just to really maximize the environment we're in, because I know it's challenging in these times with so many students being home. And then we have an excellent group of peer mentors. So we have students that are other students on campus that are also working with our office and assisting our students. I know it's something that Julie was talking about earlier, and it's been kind of interwoven in the presentation, but our peer mentors help our students in a variety of ways. And so academically, assisting with homework, social supports, and they're friends. I mean, these are real lifelong friendships. And so I have a couple photos just because they are friends. They still communicate, they hang out, they participate in events. This was a graduate that we had from December. And then there are just all these different opportunities. So we had a group come and do some boxing lessons on campus. And so that's the other photo. Also, some of our current Elevate students are working as student ambassadors. So to be able to talk to prospective students about what it's like to go to college, to assist our students in some ways. They're helping with activities and events on campus in our virtual environment at this point, but also when we are on campus, they're assisting them as well. The only thing I would add is that academically, we do have a couple different options for students. And so the majority of our students are on that modification track. But then at ACC, we're open enrollment and open access, much like any community college. And so there are opportunities also for students to take classes towards an associate's degree or a certificate. We really gauge that as students are coming in. The majority of them are on the modified track, but I would say that it's really challenged our faculty to look at universal design and what's going to help all students. And so there are some opportunities too for students at ACC specifically to be able to work towards associate degrees if that fits. Much like any other school, it's very individualized. And so I would just add that in. So let me see if there are any questions and then we'll move on to the next piece. Okay. And Corey will answer that question at the end about the motivation. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Tracy Murphy to talk about paying for college, because I know that's something that came up earlier and is very important as people and, you know, families, students are thinking about higher education.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about some of the options to pay for college. Always a question we get anytime we do these presentations. So next slide. So how do we pay for it? One unfortunate piece of college is that college costs money, and sometimes a lot of money. Many of the variables that go into how people pay for college are very family specific. So I just want to kind of talk through what students are paying for, and then some ways in which our families and us as a consortium have kind of laid out some financial supports. So first and foremost, what do students pay? Students pay the same tuition and fees as any other students, and if applicable, they pay room and board, just as any other college student. Additionally, there is a program fee that is part of their tuition for receiving the extra supports that the inclusive service offices provide. So how are we going to pay for this all? Next slide. One of the most exciting things is over the past few years, our schools have worked really hard to become what's called a Certified Transition and Post-Secondary Program, or CTP. This is approved by the U.S. Department of Ed. And what does it mean? In summary, it allows the schools to offer the federal financial aid to our students. So that includes grants like the Pell Grant. It includes the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, which is determined by individual schools on who's eligible and what that's for. It also allows our students to participate in work study. So we encourage all families to fill out the FAFSA. As many of you know, that is really family dependent, but we have seen a lot of students be able to take advantage of the federal financial aid. Other ways, so scholarships and student contribution. Scholarships have become more and more prevalent. I think people just should be reminded that there's so many scholarships out there, and looking for them is sometimes an overwhelming task, but they are out there. Each individual school district has scholarships specific to the K-12 school district, like the COSI, which is the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship Initiative. There's regional scholarships, so many organizations, Down syndrome organizations, various regional places have scholarships. Often areas have mill levy supports, particularly in Denver, that is something that's available. Each college has specific scholarships. And then nationwide, there's disability specific scholarship. Ruby's Rainbow is a great example, who often gives $1,000 to $10,000 a year. And, a few of our students have received that scholarship. The one thing I encourage people is don't be afraid to ask. We had a student this year who wanted to apply for a scholarship, and the foundation who offered it said, well, we only give it to bachelor's degrees. And so she and her family called and said, why? I'm going to college and I'm not getting my bachelor's degree, but I'm getting my certificate. And they, in the end, ended up giving her the scholarship. So I think that it's just continuing to overcome some of those barriers and misconceptions, and working towards that. The other piece is that many of our students contribute to their own college, just like some of us did when we went to college. Wages from your work study and summer employment can always be used towards tuition and fees. And then any Social Security income can also be put towards college. Next slide. So one of the biggest resources that I love are the ABLE accounts, and I'm sure many of you are aware of them, but in case you are not, as you know, when someone is on SSI, in order to meet the eligibility for SSI, they have to report less than $2,000 in their cash savings or any kind of funds they have. So basically, to remain eligible for for SSI benefits, you kind of have to stay poor, and that's just a blunt way of putting it. And so ABLE accounts were created as a way to really recognize sort of the costs of living with disability and giving people with a disability the opportunity to have some finances. And so people are allowed to establish ABLE savings account. It doesn't impact their SSI, and they can have up to $15,000 contributed to that account a year. One other thing to note is that the ABLE accounts do not impact FAFSA either. So we encourage a lot of people, I encourage anybody to look into ABLE accounts to allow a way to save for college and to pay for college without impacting eligibility to SSI. The next resource that's available is our friends at the Division of Vocational Rehab. Obviously, as Christina mentioned earlier, they are providing employment services to people with disabilities. One of the things to keep in mind is that they're very individualized. And so what one student receives is not necessarily what another student receives. It's really based on their job goals and what their specific counselor kind of work through. Really, many of our families have received tuition assistance and books and things from DVR, and so we're so grateful for the support there. Those things are on a financial need of the family, but it's certainly a resource. Additionally, getting in touch with DVR during college or after high school can really set you up for some long-term supports and services throughout college and beyond. So. And then the final is our Community Center Board partners. Community Center Boards, there are 20 of them statewide, and that's a little map of where they all are at. They manage and deliver services to individuals. They really oversee that Medicaid waiver piece. Many of our students are on SLS waivers, and in doing so receive supports at UCCS. Many of the students who live in apartments receive their supports of someone, as Christy mentioned, coming in and assisting with whatever kind of individualized daily need they have, and that's often paid for through Medicaid waivers on SLS. A couple of our other families this year also have inquired about self-determination funds or other resources available from the CCB to assist in some of their program fee and tuition costs as well. So they're a great partner and a great resource. That is kind of it on the financial resources. Are there questions? I'm trying to read the questions. Oh, there was a lot.
No. It looks like there's a question about, we're talking about some of it. Is there any funding other than private pay that covers the cost of the program that's not tuition? So yes, we have DVR. And then there was a question about potentially waivers being able to pay for the program fee.
Yes, so one of our, a couple of our families have approached, they've approached their CCB. All CCBs handle it differently, but they have self-determination funds, they have family support funds, and often it's just asking the question of what's eligible for assistance with that.
Looks like there's also a question about independent living. Is there a minimal expectation for a student's skill level, bathing, hygiene, laundry skills? How are outside supports like personal care providers integrated into the college experience, and who's responsible for that coordination?
I'm going to turn that over to Christy or Christina. Okay. School level.
So there are some minimum expectations for the student's ability to be independent and to learn and develop some of these skills over time. If we were going to be working with like a personal care attendant, we would work that out with the family, how those services came in and were utilized. We do have supports for independent living, but it's not 24/7 support. So the student does need to be able to be on their own and take care of and learn how to do more over time. But with individual types of situations, like if somebody had physical disabilities and had a personal care attendant, those services can be brought into the dorms, into the apartments, and so we would have to work that out individually with families and schedule those services and make sure that the student was getting all they need.
So I'll just add very quickly with regards to minimal expectation. My standard go-to response is a student needs to be able to follow the codes of conduct within whatever campus they're attending, and they need to be able to be safe, right? So as long as those things can be adhered to, the skills are likely there. What's important to remember within any of our programs is they are students of the college or university first, receiving supports from our offices. So disability doesn't negate needing to follow the code of conduct. I hope that makes sense, because this is something that definitely has come up in the past within, at least at UNC. So
Cool. Hey, Nick, are you ready? You got to unmute yourself.
Okay, here we go.
Can I introduce you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So Nick Harmon is going to wrap us up here. Nick graduated from UCCS last year. I've been lucky enough to know Nick Harmon for many, many years and work with him as he was a student at UCCS. And so he's here to talk to you about, why college was important for him and what it's like to be an alumni. You can take it away, Nick.
Yeah. I think it's good, but who knows? I know because sometimes, yeah. Okay, so my name's Nick Harmon. I'm a UCCS student, and so yeah, here's a presentation here's I got for me today. So okay, for the grapher, I'm a camera person, of course. I'm a camera guy. I just take many pictures all times, and I built a website for my photos kind of website. You can show, don't have to, some kind of other things about my photos I took, and so I took photos of the junkyard cars, and we went to the junkyard cars, some old old random cars and cars and stuff I used to take. And I love to take pictures of things like people and cars. I used to pictures of people's because I didn't know about summer campus or any cars and somewhere. Yeah. I love to take pictures because it's my dream. Because I like taking pictures a lot more than when I use my phone all the time. So I love being in open fields and beautiful flowers, like the flowers, the sunflowers. And when I went to Denver, kind of flowers that is. I feel a lot happy. I took my pictures kind of stuff. I think it's good taking pictures and stuff. So I think it's great. Next slide. Thank you. Um, I'm a self advocate. I really know by myself. I like thinking about the things I can do. Want the people with disabilities, they know they can do anything for disabilities or something what's going on, and it's what it is. But being a graduate student because I'm a senior, but that's okay.
Can we go back a slide?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I have a question for you, Nick, if it's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Would you mind telling people what's happening in this picture right here?
Yeah, because so on this picture, because we were I was in the podium. So I was in the podium because the how able get the certificate, able to walk it on stage. So I couldn't because of COVID. That's okay. When it seems to happen, yes, it is what it is. So
Yeah, but you were up there telling them that you wanted to be able to walk at graduation, right?
right, yeah.
Yeah. And then you didn't get to because of COVID after they said you could.
Yeah, but I guess I couldn't, and they want me to, they wanted to. That's okay too, but it's okay. So
But you got the right to walk at graduation, but then
I know
COVID
it is.
took it away.
Yeah, this one right from December. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. You good? Okay, I am a UCCS graduate. Have just certificate for the journalism. Some any further classes were art, architectism. I used to making arts kind of stuff and disability studies. I did with you, Christy Casa, because you teach whole class and we know about the it was presentations. I think it's kind of cool having you here. Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
And then keeping cover screens weird. I used to do that all the time. And I did the digital photo photography. Some kind of so I did on the camera pictures and when I went on a trip with Hannah. So my mentor, yeah. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so my future plans, I want to keep teaching and learning just to learn all the good stuff. And I do love working in the local car wash because I'll go there all the time. So I used to go on weekends. So yeah, and I want to sell photos and people want to sell photos. They want to see my other photos I took from last year kind of stuff. I will see them online at art shows and this is just some kind of art architecture because I did like the fencing. I did the cars one too. We did one that has the license plates on it. I will keep taking photos of animals, land, grassy areas, industrial areas. It's right down across from my house from here. I used to like on cars and used to photos of them. But yeah. Next slide. I think that should be it. I think it's cool. My presentation is great, so thank you for all of your great job for me. Because I'm smart, I'm cool, I'm funny, and yeah.
Well, and Nick, it looks like somebody's asking where they can find your photos. What's your webpage? Do you want to pop
My
in?
webpage, I think it's what's the webpage, Julie? I think
it's Nick's photo work, but I'll put it
photo
in the
works.
chat for sure.
I got it. I just got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Also, thank you for thanks to you, Christy. You're cool, and yeah.
You're cool back. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. You too, Christy. Who knows?
Okay.
So this is Tracy again. I just want to say thanks to Nick and everybody. I mean, he kind of just sums up why we do what we do. And I think we're all so proud of what we do and so thrilled that so many of you were interested in learning about it. And we look forward to the next 5 years as we continue to create these opportunities throughout Colorado.
And this is Corey. I think we have a couple minutes left, and there was a question that I put in the chat earlier that I'd like you all to just reflect on for a couple minutes. I've always heard all of you emphasize the importance of attending higher ed being the student's goal and passion. And if you can just reflect a little bit as to, what's gotten you to that point, what were some of the experiences that came along, and what kind of strategies do you have for supporting students in really emphasizing their passion and goals? I know that's huge, but just a couple reflections, and maybe that's something that we can go into in more depth at another time.
Who wants to kick this question off? I mean, this is Christina, so I guess I can say my 2 cents. The way that we sort of approach it at UNC is we're starting from the first time we meet a student to really assess with them formally, informally, is this where they want to be? And the way we're doing that is we're talking directly to the potential student and understanding their responses, and also paying attention to the support system around that, be that parents, caregivers, whomever those people are for that student. Is the student answering us, or is it being prompted heavily by those on the sidelines? Because that's going to give us an indication of, is this something the student wants to do, or do they feel like they have to do? And if they feel like they have to do, then it's not going to be successful, right? Because then we become the people who are keeping them here if they don't want to be. So we're always looking at that self-determination piece. And then the second way we look at that is really like making sure the student has an opportunity to tour campus, either virtually or in person, to solidify that sort of, what does college even look and feel like? So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Christina.
I'll answer next. I think similar to Christina, one of the things we tell students a lot is college is hard. We have high expectations. Our students have all the classwork to keep up on. We make modifications, but we don't eliminate the classwork. So there's a lot of classwork. There's a lot of expectations around being independent on campus, around the social activities that are happening, jobs and internships. And so, we want to talk really clearly about the work that it's going to take over 4 years, that there's fun parts of college and there's also really hard parts of college. And agreeing with Christina, we really want to make sure it's the student's dream to go to college, because as you all probably realize, Nick is my son. And so is that my dream for Nick to go to college, or was that Nick's dream? And so being really clear that it's the student, because the student ultimately has to put in all the work. And so we do the interview process. Through the interview process, we at UCCS do interviews separate. So we interview students separately from their families and ask some of those tough questions about why they want to go to college. Because again, we want to make sure the students that are there are students who want to be there.
Jen, do you want to weigh in?
I agree with everything. I would say exactly what Julie just said, that really we're looking to see who really wants to be here? Is it the parent or the student? Because it is so much time and effort, and many of us have been to college and we know how challenging that can be. Like Julie, we also interview parents and students separately to just kind of get a gauge to see where the motivation's coming from, to try to help best situate students where they want to be. Like others said, if students don't want to be the ones going to college, like that's fine. I mean, whatever your goals are and your plans for your future, that's great. And we want to help you. And if college is a part of it, then wonderful. And if not, I would love to help connect you with whatever your next steps are.
Thanks so much. And I see that Christy had to leave to start a class. So again, thank you for everyone being part of this. Appreciate the team doing this really integrated presentation. Our first thought was, well, let's hear about each school, but they said, no, we really need to integrate the information across the pillars that are part of inclusive higher ed. So again, thank you so much to everyone. And we hope fairly shortly to have the recording of this webinar on the JFK website. So have a good day. Thanks.